Today is September 26th. It is the first curriculum committee meeting of the school year. We are all here, myself, Robin Willoughby, Tim Kramer's here, RG O'Leary is joining us remotely, and Kelly Lendrum, and Karen Conroy, and Superintendent McCree.
All right.
All right. First on the agenda is the summer review.
Okay, perfect. And RG, I can't see you at the moment because I'm sharing the slide, but you should be able to see it all together.
I can see your screen, and I can see at least the camera moves where there's noise, so I think I'm good.
Okay. So what we typically have not done in the past is actually review our summer school report. This is Karen and I were talking about a little bit, and we have people go to summer school each year, but we haven't been really understanding, what we've been sending out, what the reports have been in, and how many readings have done, stuff like that. So this year, we've created a kind of report to go over, to kind of show what we have and what we're doing. So what you have in front of you is a memo that Karen sent to me. So we can kind of share it about how many kids we sent to summer school. So there are a few different types of summer schools, and I want to kind of go over it because not everybody maybe understands it. There is the high school summer school, where we send our students to a shared BOCES summer school, and that's your typical high school summer school. If a child failed or needs a repeated course to be able to get course credit, they go to the summer school. We send them, we pay a fee based off of our, the number of classes that student has. That is BOCES aidable, so we get that money back at like 60% is our lead ratio. That's what we have. The other things that we have is we have a elementary special education summer school, and then we have a tutoring grant summer school, which is not really summer school, it's kind of like tutoring that we're utilizing for learning loss. Karen can explain. So I'll leave it to you, Karen.
Sure. And I actually have on that slide, if you want to go a couple forward to that one.
Yeah.
Yep, where's the summer tutoring? So the special ed program, I just listed just because it might be interesting to you. There are 18 students that ran for about 6 weeks, 2.5 hours a day. Those are for students who have on their IEP that they need to have that summer program. In addition to that, we have, for the past couple of years, we've used some Title I money for tutoring, as Frank just mentioned, in the hopes of keeping up some of the learning that has happened over the year to protect from some learning loss. And if you click on that one,
I want to say something about the special ed summer school real quick.
Sure.
In case not everybody is familiar with it. That is IEP driven. So at the CSE meetings, you're asked, you're recommended, your child is recommended for it. And then the parents have the choice, parent guardians have the choice to say, yes, I'm going to send my child, or no, I'm not. So that the only way to get in those special education summer school for those students is through CSE. Sorry. Just not everybody understands it.
Right.
And to be clear on that. The summer tutoring grant.
Yeah, that is, I work with principals to get determination of what their parameters are going to be. So, for example, mid-year, we did some tutoring and in the elementary, and it was just decided that we wouldn't be targeting the very lowest students who were already getting AIS services in school. We were targeting some kids who were not, just above that level, and were not getting access to an additional intervention. So we put that in, and that was what our elementary principal and the psychologist decided they wanted the focus to be. So in the summer, it's usually students who are the most neediest, or that we're afraid need a little extra help. What it was decided this year for the elementary, and actually Kelly London was at our Title I meeting where we talked about this, is maybe we should be looking at where we have the greatest need of all, which was a group of first graders. I'm calling it pre-second. And the recommendation of fourth moving into fifth for math specifically. So instead of trying to do a few people at each grade level, we really tried to focus on those two areas. As you can see, it's tough. I had 17 names that I was inviting for the pre-second, and you have maybe 8 who say that they might be able to come and 5 who continuously come. It was 2 hours twice a week for 5 weeks, and that was literacy for an hour and math for an hour. And the tough thing is we don't have busing. I don't know if there's any way to talk about or to think about it. Are we allowed to do anything to kind of pay an additional piece to work with what's already going on with special ed, or not at all, because it's a totally different situation, and that is grant funded probably from special ed programs and stuff. So I don't know. It makes it hard. And when you're only an hour or 2 hours a day, parents need it all day camp. It's just, we try to provide this, but it is hard to get. I'm sure we have people who would like to have taken advantage of it who couldn't, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I was supposed to ask if anyone has ever mentioned that as an
Yes,
obstacle for them.
They
Oh,
do.
okay.
They'll say, or we're coming back, we'll only be available for 2 weeks. And honestly, for that group, I did say, for both of that 5th grade and for that pre-second, I said, come for the 2 weeks then.
Yeah.
There's nothing, there's no reason why you can't if I talk to the teachers, that kind of a thing. But I do want you to take a look at that little chart that I have there, because for ELA, well, we did a little pre-test and post-test stuff. And one of our reading teachers did the literacy, which was really nice. She doesn't necessarily know all these students, but she had all the data that we had from the end of the year. But she still did this little, it was called core phonics, and you could tell if a student had understanding of short vowels, long vowels, blends, different things, right? There's a number of questions. And this is pretty silly, probably the way I created, but I wanted to show, because there were maybe 10 or 12 different things that they got up to 5 points. Did they know all 5 sounds? 5 out of 5, 2 out of 5, like we had a before and after. So I just turned those numbers into percentages. And these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are 5 of the students who were continuously there. And you can see at the very beginning, we have student, who could only do about not even half the points on that. And then went up to that 71. So 48 to 71% of those questions, 65 to 85. I thought, it's a really small group, but they made some nice progress there. And I'm really interested to see what is that going to look like in the fall. Did they keep that? They certainly didn't lose anything by being here for those weeks, but I'm interested to know if they actually did make some gains there. So,
But there was no regression.
there was definitely no regression. You can see 87 up to 96. That student, was obviously the highest of the group. 68 up to 91, 71%. So I just kind of gave a point value to, like I said, if it was 5 short sounds and they got 5 out of 5, they already knew those, but that was counting as 5 points that I was looking at. Just so I had some way of sharing that with you guys. And then we had the pre-5th, there was 15 names that were recommended. I only had about 5 to 7 who did come, who were able to come or who chose to come. It could be either. In the middle school, we
Any
have,
questions on elementary before we
sorry,
move on?
anything on the elementary that,
If, you just said chose to come. If I wasn't in that group at
if
midnight,
you had to be invited.
had to be invited.
You had to be invited. And it was really, I sat down and had our school psychologist and our principal help me with, these are the numbers that this is all the data. Let's determine who would be the best fit for this, the kids who needed the most help.
Are there ever any parents who say, I would like to have my kid enrolled in summer school for a period of time?
Sure.
But they're not, the answer might have been no.
Yeah, and I try to go back to the principal determinations. I think we did accommodate somebody at the middle school for a short period of time at the very end, but this student was in a very different place than the other kids who were being tutored. So I'm not sure how much is even gained from that.
And one of these things, this is a title fund, right? So this is grant funded. So we need to be able to say what the predominant, what we're going to predetermine the amount that we can
Yeah.
allocate for.
Right.
So we can't have just do everybody.
Can't
We
do
would love
open
to,
house.
right? That would be the
Yeah.
best part. But
Right.
we had unlimited funds, and why not? But we
Right.
have to be since it's federal grant money, we have to kind of be a little subjective to it.
Is it enough? You
Tim,
think you
from
have
personal
enough?
experience, it has happened to me where I've requested summer school and was told that there wasn't basically, enough space given the available funding. So I'm sure there's more demand than available.
Yeah.
Should that be something we should try to work on in the future where we could create a larger pool, somehow lobby for that somehow? I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it or,
Out of federal grant money or out of general fund money?
well, I don't know. But if there is an unmet need.
Yeah.
What are
And
the options?
What are the
our
options? How can we,
That's
I
all
mean,
I'm really-
No, I
think
think it's a good idea.
if we can expand it and, each year we expand it a little bit more for either more kids or longer time or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but I think that would be fabulous.
Yeah. Can it
Well,
be expanded and
Can
then
it be,
how?
yeah, right.
I
What would that
I've
require?
had
Yeah.
very limited experience with summer school, but I think it has a tremendous impact, positive impact. I think you're showing it.
But I think we have to, this isn't summer school now, this is
Right,
summer
this is-
tutoring,
this is just
right?
Tutoring.
Because
Okay,
summer
all
school,
right,
yeah,
all
like,
right, all right.
it's slightly different, because summer school, like, there's a special education summer school that's CSE driven,
Okay,
right?
so,
So that one, you can't just request and get into it.
That's,
It's gotta be
Right.
through your IEP and CSE.
okay,
that's somebody who's been identified as
Right,
special
sure, I understand
education
that.
and has such a,
High school summer school, yes, that was one that somebody could
and
say, I
that's
want,
probably what I'm thinking of.
we could do that one. This is, I think, untapped market, right? Because looking at how many kids we have and then figuring out, is it general fund, is there federal grant money, and how then do we support it? This is those families say, we have kids who get learning loss or could use support over the summer. How do we help?
how
support
do we
them?
help before that next school year?
So that's
This is-
kind of the
this is
chart.
tutoring.
Yeah, specific targeted tutoring.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I definitely think it's something we can look at.
And the tutoring is done here rather than going to BOCES?
So the tutoring is done here. For the elementary, for the middle school, we chose this year to try it virtually, to provide that virtually because the drop off makes it hard having, even if your child's old enough to stay at home, if you're working and you can't get them here, so we tried that to see, how that was. And the attendance, was better, but we still didn't have as many people show up as I had originally thought we would, to be honest.
Artie, can I ask a quick question if you wouldn't mind? Regarding the one that you were interested in, was that the tutoring program, the CSE program, or the summer school through the district program?
That was CSE in the elementary school.
Thank you.
So so you just probably
That's
answered,
their summer program.
there's a summer school program.
Yeah.
There's a tutoring program and there's CSE.
And that's why we wanted to kind of go over, because they're very different.
I
And,
got
they're all important, but we've really never had the conversation about how we utilize somebody,
different student
right?
population.
How do we, yeah, and that's what we're trying to figure out. is
Exactly.
How do we continue what we're doing and make it better?
Gotcha.
Exactly.
We do provide we do provide transportation for the
The special
BOCES,
ed.
for the special ed and for the summer school program out of the high school. So we do provide transportation. for them.
To the BOCES.
To the BOCES,
Correct.
yep.
Schoharie for the
Well,
summer
for
school.
now.
program, right? Where it was.
Yeah,
This
so
past year.
it rotates every 2 years. So it could be at Schoharie, and then in 2 years later, it's gonna be somewhere else, and then 2 years later, it could be somewhere else. So it depends on the schools that are within it.
Mm,
And then there's always Schenectady as well.
Gotcha.
Middle
So middle school, we had 11 students that we worked with. We offered math and ELA or both. So we tried to schedule it so that, when the sixth graders were doing English language arts, the seventh graders were doing math, because I had a math teacher and an ELA teacher. And then if somebody needed both, they'd be able to do both, and they could have one hour right after another. Does that make sense? Did I say that in a way that makes sense? Okay. I do not have any results from our most recent assessments to see if that helped keep kids up to where they were at the end of the year. My hope is that they did not have major slippage, but,
Can't hoit.
what's that?
It can't hoit.
Can't hurt it, that's for sure. That is for sure.
The secondary summer school is this sheet here.
Uh,
You all have a written copy. Sorry, RG, I believe there's a link to it in the agenda.
There is, but I need access to the document.
Oh, Sorry.
That's okay. No, I can look at it.
So as you can see, we had 10 students go, right? 21 courses taken over the summer. So that's pretty good. And then these again are kids who have failed the course here, but are able to take it. And you have to be able to have failed and still have attendance ability to be able to go. Like, so there's some criteria. You couldn't just not come all year and then just go and take summer school for 2 months and automatically get the course. That doesn't work. Overall, 16 students took 18 Regents exams, 3 out of 16 for the first time. 61% pass rate on summer Regents. That's actually pretty good. Because again, these are students who may have not, who did not pass it in the beginning. And Karen, do you want to talk about, and this is also including the students who took the, they get the waiver.
Okay. So of the 7 that didn't pass, there were 11 out of 18 that did. Of the 7 that did not hit 65, 4 received the special appeal. So that was if you have a 50 or a higher and you met certain qualifications.
New York State is allowing the appeal now.
Then we can allow that Regents to count for the student. So that means there were 3 that did not qualify for that were well within the 50. You can see what the scores range from 36 to 91. And I didn't want this.
What were these kids are still in school?
Yes.
These weren't seniors.
Nope. No. All of our seniors graduated and had what they needed.
But the good thing is all of these, every single one of these past Regents means that it lessens the chance of this child not graduating high school, right? So the fact that they're getting it and those Regents credits are there, that means it's freed up in their schedule this year and makes the chances higher that they'll graduate.
That's right. Some of these students are not students who had to go to summer school. They just retook that Regents.
Right. Like the
Some of
Algebra
them-
2 exam, those students are taking it for a higher course. We're trying to repass that exam.
That's 1A.
Yeah.
Are you looking at 1A and thinking it's 2?
Yeah. Oh, that was my bad. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
It's a 1-2 and
Yeah.
it got me right. Yeah, I was like, oops, that's
And the reason why I didn't put it up there is because with such a small number of students, I just didn't want it.
Yeah.
Somebody to know, oh, they took a whatever and they did or didn't kind of pass, try to figure it out. You know what I mean? Privacy, student privacy is what I'm talking.
And we're going to track this a little bit more each year, look at the data to see if we can see any like specifics, like if there's anything happening from year to year that are similarities or not. So we can try to use this for any markers that we're not aware of. Any questions on this? What we do, everything here is we pay for in some way, shape, or form. And then a lot of it is reimbursed. And we try to find reimbursement ways for the summer schools through BOCES, so you do get reimbursement for it.
So those who don't pass these things, what happens now?
They retake it.
They will retake.
They
it.
got to retake it.
So it depends on if they failed the course or not. If they failed the course, but failed the course and failed the Regents, they got to retake the course in the year.
Yep.
If they passed the course, but failed the Regents exam, then they can take the Regents in January.
Gotcha.
Which I think is the case.
Yeah, which is the case for probably the majority of these students.
Mhm. And the slide before that, Frank will have the staff stuff. Yeah.
Right here. Okay.
This is just to also update you with what staff we're doing over the summer. We have all that summer curriculum work that goes on. New courses. We had Dave Lawrence had 2 new half-year courses, so he did some work with that. We had kindergarten, first grade, and second grade who had a phonics program they started using last year that they really liked. They came in and they matched that program to Wonders, our new reading program, so that they could use that as a supplementary piece of phonics. Grade 2 will use it as an intervention. Grade K and 1 are actually going to put that in with the Wonders piece. You fly, yes. Kindergarten and first grade both came in because of the science of reading and some of the changes to the language. They wanted to look at the report card and start doing some review and making tweaks on that. We had a ukulele unit that was started the summer before. We did that for grades 4 and 5.
Well, it's great because that takes the place of recorders, which anybody who's ever had a child play a
Thank you.
recorder, a ukulele is a.
Or have an office on that same area.
I was just gonna say, or an office directly next to the music classroom.
it's kind of
every
nice. to
song by
have-
heart.
Yeah, it's kind of nice.
Yes.
Um,
Ukulele is a preferred instrument.
To a
nice.
recorder.
Yes.
That's very nice.
Yes.
And so they did that and used it for fourth grade and fifth grade last year, but then fifth grade wouldn't have had new curriculum. So this gave a second year. So they worked on that. We had some AP Spanish work. I believe Schenectady kind of community college where I think they changed their curriculum, updated it, and we had our teacher
Okay.
work on that. We've had a lot of science planning because we had our BOCES coach work with representative from grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5 to do some science work. And in addition to that, we did have 2 grade levels, grade 3 and grade 4, come in to do some science planning over the summer as well. As you know, we've got new standards. Some grade 11 ELA work. Our special ed teachers thinking about the science of reading and trying to, they all came together for a day and had some worked on multisensory curriculum development to support the phonics and the phonological learning. And then we had the half day of planning for wonders, which I'm sure everybody here knows. And then our professional development work, we did have that half day. On July 19th, we offered something called Unbound. It was a diversity, equity, inclusivity training that Albany was offering. And we had a teacher from each building, actually, it just happened that way, want to go. So they were paid to go and we paid for the conference. And I actually just recently reached out to the principals about that follow-up. So that'll be interesting. That was a 2-day training. Maneuvering the Middle is a new math AIS program that we got to get some more consistency with our AIS in the middle school for math. And one of our math teachers was gracious enough to become the lead person to learn about the program. She took time and went through some training and trained herself. And then she also provided PD for the other AIS teachers. And then we had a full day of restorative justice training.
Yeah.
And that was July 18th.
So just really quick about the AIS for middle math. That is a program that they found that they want to do. And also, given the new changes, we are able to get all the math teachers are teaching 6 now in the middle school. So it's a certified math teacher who teaches those students doing the AIS math course. So it's before it kind of wasn't always that for AIS. So this now we have the teachers who are teaching the course. They have the ability to teach it and do this program and work with students in content that they know very well. So it's a very positive thing.
Who had taught it previously?
We had a tech teacher teaching it at one point.
Okay.
We had
We had a science
TA
teacher,
at
I
one
think.
point, I think adding supports every once in a while.
TA
Science
would have
teacher.
to do it under the direction of a teacher.
Yeah,
But,
so
Okay.
and same with ELA, people were taking on, we were doing it where we could, but I think this year we have all
it
math
was
and
more
all
targeted
ELA,
this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
which is positive, as you said.
Any questions?
And so how did things go, when people are able to come in and plan and kind of do things for wonders?
I'll defer to
Um,
teacher.
It's been a rough rollout. I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot. We knew it was going to be a lot. The word that's used pretty consistently is daunting.
Yes.
And I've tried to talk with people that weren't on the committee,
Mhm.
picking it to try to get different people at different points in their careers, different,
Okay.
levels of things. Because that first half day was an overview. It wasn't really training per se. And then since then they've had an opportunity for a 45-minute Q&A.
Okay.
It's a big, rollout. So they're not really, the training hasn't been what they've expected. Karen and Jeff are trying to advocate and get what, looking for, but it's, nobody's feeling comfortable yet. It's still September. We still have time, but they're coming in next week
Okay.
to watch teachers teach.
2 weeks, right? Or,
It's next week.
oh my gosh, is that next
Who
week?
is they?
The people, the Wonders trainer.
We have a
and
coach.
The coach, and to coach them on it. So, but people are feeling pretty, pretty uncomfortable
Yeah,
with the idea of being watched when they haven't really been taught how to do it.
true.
And that's what they're asking for and what Wonder says they do. It's
Okay.
haven't really matched up yet. So, it's early.
Okay.
Hopefully
It's been
that will.
5 days, right? Or 6 days, but some of the classes started.
Some started the first full week, some started the second full
Right,
week.
so I think,
But in terms of the training, to launch something without having, it's hard because there
Sure,
hasn't
it's a
been
lot.
full training yet.
Honestly, I think I think I said this to you. I know I said this to you. I think it was godsend. Our coach was supposed to come in for 3 days last week.
Mhm.
She was ill. So she did a virtual training for us. And I think from my experience I sat through 3 of the grade levels. There seemed to be I think that worked better than her coming in and people, if they've only been doing this for 2 or 3 days, trying to do
Mhm.
some sort of lesson or something like that. But for them to have the questions. Now, I will tell you, there are a number of things that were already said by the person July 19th. I have it in my notes from July 19th. I went through that again. And I just think there was probably so much. Now you're sitting down with somebody specifically
lot.
to your grade,
Yeah.
and it makes it, once you start to know a little bit, now you can make sense out of some of the other things. When you sit down in July and everything's new, it's really hard. So, I will say, yes, it was an overview in the 19th, but there were certainly pieces like the core
Sure.
being shown, like you're only going to look at the core. We're not doing
Mhm.
everything this year. We're just, focusing that. And let's look at how that looks on a computer. You can kind of get rid of a whole bunch of pieces of it.
No, I
that's
think
not-
that part of the challenge is the amount of time that they've had. It's not that it hasn't been said, but there's
Yeah.
so much to say in such a small amount of time
Sure,
that, to be comfortable with it,
right.
there
And
just
it's
hasn't been
interesting
time.
that there are people who are, we kind of pulled back on the assessments.
Mhm.
We're looking at the reading, the piece that they said, without a doubt, this is the thing you have to do is the shared reading every day. So that became Jeff and I saying that, okay, that's our main concern. Let's not worry about looking at assessments at this point. Let's not, if you're not going to do the spelling yet, that's okay. Like it's the phonics and the shared reading. And if you can do the anthology reading, great. It's interesting. We had people saying, I want to know where those assessments are. How do I use the what? So people are going through, and sometimes that's just what they want to hear more about.
Yeah.
So we try to do it in a way that's going to be slower, that is a true rollout that feels a little bit slower, and that they don't feel like the pressure of all these different parts of the reading program have to be done at once. And I think sometimes people just still want the other pieces too. Those assessments are going to help me understand where my students are. I want to do this, so,
And now what is the next step? So after someone comes and observes,
so she'll be here
How
for
will that
3
work?
days, beginning of October. Is it the 3rd, 4th, 5th? And then on the 6th,
Which
where
is
we
next
have,
week.
which is
I was
next
just-
week. Oh, and then on that Friday, which is a half day, teams will have, that half day for more planning together.
Okay.
So the 3rd, 4th, 5th will be the way they do it is she comes into a room, say, I'm a 3rd grade teacher. And the other 3rd grade teachers would have would be released so that they could sit in that room as well and observe the reading lesson. And then afterwards, we still have the subs so that everybody can debrief together and start talking about, the program. Now, our coach said, I hope you don't mind. Sometimes I just get up and help and I just join in. And the teachers that I saw said, that's fine with me.
There's 2 grade levels each day.
Yes, 2 grade levels a day.
Well, I hope we can keep a positive attitude towards this and our eye on the prize. Yesterday, front page story, Times Union,
Mhm.
hope you saw that.
Mhm.
That's the program we bought, used in Albany 6 years now. And more importantly, they identified the very positive impact this program was having on kids being able to read. And the principal who was quoted was saying it's extraordinarily, we've made extraordinary progress
That's
using
great.
this program, focusing on the phonics piece
Mhm.
or the science of reading.
Right.
And I was very impressed with it. I mean, the timing couldn't have been better. And then the concerns about DEI.
Mhm.
Albany's got a heck of a lot more diversity than we do, and they're using it successfully. So I would say, if anything, maybe there's somebody there who could help you out at.
Oh, we've already,
Yeah,
we've worked with
through all
them.
that as well.
We have contacts.
I think the important thing is we understand that it's going to take time, right? There's time built in, we're working through time. Not everything's gonna be perfect for every person, right? I think that's an important component is not everybody's gonna be happy with everything and change can be difficult. And we're
Mhm.
looking at instead of doing it in like we talked about, everything all at once, small kind of units, listening into it. I know that, that people are working through, I mean, again, even you fly for grades K1 and not utilizing the wonders. It shows the adaption of it.
Well,
not
they're
utilizing
doing
the
wonders and
substance,
they're aligned
but
to it.
aligned to it.
Yeah.
But I think
hope
it's
so,
slow and
because
steady. And again, it's always hard. But what I saw today was I went into the building, I was dropping off Legos.
Yeah.
I hope people got them. And I dropped off a bunch of Legos. I got more going, but because we have a bunch of people for indoor recess. And I went by and what I saw in the classrooms was continuity in instruction from each classroom. Like they were doing similar things.
Yeah.
The teaching might not always be the same because it's a program. The teacher's going to make it their
And
reality.
you use it as a resource
Right.
for.
But there was consistency and continuity in the classrooms. And that was nice to see that. And I think someone said today, like, there is time built in that you a little bit more time is helping with that within the way that we've now structured the day and then able to get a little bit more time built in.
It does seem as if there are more people coming out now saying that, well, we always kind of thought this balanced reading approach might not have been all that. We knew that the kids, when they got to fourth grade,
Mhm.
they're having a very difficult time reading. Some of them, not all of them.
No, right.
But some of them, and they were still relying on pictures and guidance in that regard. And we know that that is not the best way for young readers to learn how to read. So I'm hopeful that we keep positive. I think we've got a good product here. It's going to take time. I get that, but it's been successful elsewhere.
Yeah. And we're doing something that many districts haven't done, which is provide in the first year, somebody from McGraw-Hill who is a coach who will be in here. She was, I thought, wonderful. The day that I saw her virtually, very practical, which is what people had asked for. She would be able to say, cross that out. You're not doing that. This is the first year. Don't worry about that. What you really want to focus on is this. That's what people have asked for. We sat at a table, teacher said, we want somebody who's taught, who has been practical, who can say to us, what's the important piece and what can we let go of? And I think she'll be able to do that for us.
And is it going to be the same coach throughout the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I don't know if I can certainly share that schedule.
Okay. And is that person available if somebody thinks of a question after the
Oh,
trainers?
I've
Okay.
already
Just
sent out
curious.
the email. I
Okay.
said, with the first group that was there, I said, now, we're going to be doing lessons. I said, what if the teacher who decides to be the first person to share a lesson
Mhm.
wants to reach out to you and kind of run through some of the things that, she was thinking if she had any questions. He's like, oh, by all means,
Okay.
absolutely reach out to me. I shared out her email, I think on Friday. Is that
I think it's Friday.
Thursday,
Well, the
Friday?
expectation should be, that's what we want.
Right,
PD, support.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
And I think we might lose sight of this, and I think it's always important is we're doing all those things. It is September 25th. School started on September 7th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're only
Yeah.
a couple weeks in, so.
And we were fortunate that we had her on what was day 4 of the, of what most teachers had done for just their first started 1 week of Wonders. So.
Good.
AP results. We kind of wanted to share this. So everybody knows the rankings from World News came out and things, but also some of the things that help kind of put us where we are in our World News reports. And for the high school, where it is our AP rankings. And I was able to, this was shared with me and Karen, and we wanted to share it with you because we thought it was telling.
Yeah, blow that right up.
Yeah, blow that right up as big as I possibly can here.
Oh, what if you hit on
Hit
slideshow? Would it do
slideshow.
that?
All right.
Would that tell?
Oh, here we go.
Oh, there we go.
So if you take a look at it, These are the 12th grade AP participation rates and achievement rates. The percentage of students that took at least one AP, here's Voorheesville.
80% of our
Right
12th
there.
graders.
The blue is,
The
80% of our 12th graders took at least one AP exam. 59
Percent
passed
got a
it.
3, 4, or 5.
Right.
So
And
our
if you look at the rest of the
passing
districts,
is higher than the percentage of the number 2
I like that.
taking it. Now,
there's a lot of different factors
There are a
and
lot of
reasons why all
factors.
these things happen.
somebody
And
might
everybody's
do,
doing the very best that they possibly can in all districts.
oh, for sure.
We just felt that this,
I'm not sure that's what those things are, though. If you look at what it says, the blue is 20, 21.
That's what the data was pulled from.
Yeah.
20 to
12th grade
2021
with at
participation.
least,
one AP
That's
exam.
percent of
AP.
the students that act of the grade level
Yeah.
took it.
So at least 80% of our 12th graders had one AP exam
okay.
from 2021. So
So
that's, and again, we had 100 kids, that's 80 of our students took at least
And
one
the
AP.
red is.
is those kids who
percentage
passed,
scored.
who got a 3, 4, or 5 on an AP.
Okay.
And it's nice that like the little engine that could is, we're the smaller district with high numbers.
Yeah. Now, you will have schools in there who focus on an IB program. So that takes away from their kids who will be
Yeah.
doing an AP, you know,
And those are the ones that have low.
so they may have
asset
lower numbers there. It has nothing, you know, it's not against them, but I do think that it's pretty impressive. And that's not to say that 80% in 12th grade took it. It means between, you know, 10th, 11th, and 12th
the
grade
cohort.
Oh, right.
of the
Yeah.
cohort have at
It wasn't
least
just
one
that
AP. Yeah, that's part of what they have with the civic career and civic readiness. You know, you get credit from New York State as well as not just US News, but New York State considers that somebody ready for college, ready for a career, because they're taking this more rigorous class.
But we thought that was
Pretty impressive.
a nice chart.
Absolutely.
And I was in a group of superintendents when they shared it. So
I was the assistant superintendent.
we like that.
People had a lot of questions. Well, wait a minute.
So course audit. Another thing that we kind of want to do is just go through quickly, because some of this can get very overwhelming, as Karen and I have figured out over the past couple of days, of looking at what we offer, kind of understanding, and what we want to understand from the board's perspective is, where do you want us to keep our budget priorities? What do you want us to look into as we go through with this? Because there's certain things here that we want to make sure we're on the right page, right? So going through an audit of what we're currently offering and what our class sizes are kind of helps us understand this a little bit more. So like, you know, having a class of 3 or having a class of 10, like where's our cutoff? Where do we see it? As,
And does it depend on the course?
Right.
Or, you know, the target audience, for example, you know?
So currently right now, these are our enrollment grades and numbers. Probably has already changed since I looked at this. Our kindergarten, even though it says average class size 15 to 16, we have TAs in each one of those as well.
Mhm.
So, you know, split that down with another teacher in the room or an
Right.
assistant in the room to be able to help support those numbers. You're getting a lot of attention in that area.
All the kindergarten classes have a TA.
They're supposed to, yep.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think we're fully hired at this point. And I don't want, they're supposed to.
I believe that we're fully hired. I don't know that, I don't remember if that equates to one in every kindergarten room.
It's
But,
supposed to.
but they are also the general ed TAs are the ones that get pulled from our short subs,
Yes,
That is true.
I know.
which everybody's having
Get
that right
told
now.
what?
Get pulled to cover sub. If we're short subs, then they have to go.
That's true.
So these are our numbers. We have 5 sections.
Of everything but 5th grade.
Except for 5th grade right now.
They seem like reasonable numbers. How do you feel about it?
They're low in comparison to some other districts.
Yeah, very low.
You know, those are nice and low. And what you want to do is keep them, you know, the younger they are, the lower they should be,
That's what
right?
I was thinking.
That's kind of the goal.
Nice.
So, so middle school. And again, we can give very brief overviews of this. 'Cause-
Yeah, because it's probably a little confusing. the way I
And plus
told it.
Karen and I were getting into the weeds pretty heavy today as we
We
started looking into
were.
all these.
We were.
So what you're gonna look at is the name of the classes on the left-hand side, the department that it's in is here, and then the yellow is the enrollment numbers. So we have some that are zero, but we think that might be just a
Probably
scheduling
not,
issue and
there's
not an issue.
nobody needing that to be scheduled, so it just wasn't pulled out of e-school.
We are seeing some courses that have only one student in them per teacher. So that those AIS classrooms that we were talking about. So the English teacher right now and it's English AIS, there's currently, right as of today, one, but that will change. And the reason being is when looking at the cut scores that came out from the state exams will allow us then to start rescheduling in more kids, hopefully, into those rooms to get more supports.
As well as our local, we have our new,
Benchmark assessments, common lit for that.
benchmark and our star assessment.
So
So,
those should fluctuate and add more into those rooms. You want to see 6 to 8, 5 to 8
and sometimes those are even bigger.
or 10,
numbers.
but you don't
Yeah.
want to see 20 in an AIS class.
What is it like? It's 1/1.
Meaning there's only one student
There's,
currently in that.
I don't know why it pulled it that way. It's
just the way the
knowing there's
computer
one
pulled it.
student, there's two students. You can see what the maximum seats next to it would be.
So those are a
Yeah.
little low and we want to make sure that we're keeping
But
those
they
up.
will probably get a little bit
Right.
higher than that once we get the results.
And as we're going through our study halls, 13 students in the classroom for middle school. You figure your classroom probably holds about 18, 13 in there. Doesn't seem that bad. Could be, you can have, depending on where the room is, you could have 25 to 30 kids in a study hall.
Mhm.
Robin gave me.
No, thank you. Thank you.
So, but these are our numbers. They're looking pretty solid. They're all pretty low. If you happen to notice, music 7, art 7. The humanities labs are low.
Again,
So-
they will be scheduled
Mm.
once we get these cut points and the.
Resource rooms, you can only max a 5. So that's why if you see like 2, 3, 4, 5, that's completely normal.
Mhm.
Social studies 8, 20 students in a room. Math 6, 20, math 7, 20. Science 6, 20. So you're
But
looking at our class
Obviously
sizes.
not like 29, 30.
Right, 20 in a room, that's not bad. And then, again, the numbers are up higher. English, 21, English 8, 27, our numbers are pretty low. You're not seeing 30 kids in a room. English 7, English 6, 22. So the classes fluctuate a little bit between 22, 23. Right along with where the 5th grade is, 24. And that's middle school. We get up a little bit higher when you're getting into your phys ed classes. Some of those are a little more. Phys ed, 30, chorus, 37. So,
And then the labs are the AIS
Right.
as well.
but the majority of the middle school is pretty much right in line with 20 to 23. And that's with about 100 kids per class.
And how are all of these numbers compiled?
Right out of East.
I pulled it
Right
from
out of
e-school.
So Spanish is still listed as foreign language in e-school?
It must,
I was just
instead of
checking.
world language.
Yes, per New York State
Which is what
We
standards.
should
said
be.
it should be, and I
Yep.
sent an email stating
You
that, by
did.
the way, I did.
You did.
So we will address that.
Spanish teacher noticed.
What I will say after you and I met,
You did send.
I
out the
did
thing.
send them a reminder saying that needs to change.
Yeah.
So,
And I will say, Brian Stumba, who's our department
Mhm.
chair for English and world languages, always says world languages. That's his agenda. That's his, yeah.
so high school, this is pretty daunting. So certain things that we did look at. Karen and I noticed that some of our study halls, we want to kind of look at those numbers a little bit more and work with leadership and the guidance counselors to see if there's any combining we can do. We have a few study halls that have like 4 in a classroom and, then 14 in another room or 4 and 7.
And
So-
there may be a reason
But
that they
those are
broke down
really
a
low.
large-
But what ends up happening sometimes with high school schedules is you jam them pack and you get, like August 16th, you have perfect numbers. Everything's wonderful. And then by September, by September 20th, everything's changed. And you got to go back and kind of reallocate a little bit. That's normal. And that's right where we are right now is that normal phase of switching around. We have some rooms that are a little bit lower So see what it's in
We
the,
do have one that's, you know, that says maximum seats are 28,
yes,
and you got 3.
that's,
What happens to the program that,
we're not
Yeah.
sure of that answer yet.
okay.
That's what we're trying to figure out.
So in
Some of the AP
cases-
classes,
Yeah.
that's normal, right?
Because we're not that large a school to be able to offer it 5 times, you know, and in different places.
28 is kind of irrelevant.
And if, so, for example, AP macro and micro, right? We're trying to offer that as also a DL course. So if
Did
you even,
kids drop? People were
Right.
signed up for it and
so
then, but
we
we're
might have
also
5 of
doing
our
it
own, but
DL.
we might have other kids from DL courses too going out. So we're trying to
Right, so we have-
maximize those.
Yeah. So that will help support that. That might be another 5
But
kids.
I mean, we have
And
this,
you might see, the other thing that we have to probably take more time to really dig if we see questions is, you know, you see a class of 9, and you're like, what, or 10, and it's say, you know, an English or a math class or whatever. And then you realize the other section was 20, you know, and you weren't forcing everybody into,
that
you know, one
happens.
large class. Okay, we have the staff, we have the ability to do it. So it looks like one really small one, and that's kind of just that asymmetrical, weird schedule that you have because we're a small district. So, you know, you can't just judge it as you pull it up,
Right.
but it does help us understand, you know, what is the board's philosophy?
Right.
Where do we want to,
For example, like this student in ceramics, there's 5 in one section, and 3 in another.
twice?
So we asked about that today. We're trying to figure it out. And what happened was there were more kids, what we were told is there were more kids already built into that. But then the way that it was scheduled, they couldn't all get that class and they didn't catch
Because
it
they
until it
wanted,
was
say,
too late.
chorus or something like that.
So now if you go back and combine all those classes, students' whole schedules would change and move around. So unfortunately, it was a late catch that, you know, now we're stuck with the 3 and 5. But that 3 and 5 is a section, right? That's a resource. And the board, you know, I think what Karen and I want to know is kind of what the board's direction is.
When do we question?
Yeah, when do we question it? Like, when is our capacity? Like, where do you want us? Do you want us offering classes of 3, or do you want our max to be 6 or 7? Because that's
Or
a
do you want
classroom.
anything that's under 10 to go to have the principal talk to the superintendent and say, this is
Right,
what we're
like,
thinking. This
give
is
some
why I think we
criteria.
should run it versus not running it, you know, like,
We're just not sure where,
because we're just looking after the fact.
right?
Now, these numbers, because now the window of time has come, right, where students, high school students, secondary could have changed their schedules, right? Correct.
And again, some of these numbers, we don't know the nuance behind it, right? That's why Karen and I
Yeah,
asked
there's-
about
there's
the
gonna
ceramics,
be,
because
I'm
there's
sure.
nuances behind the schedule.
Well,
There's
that's the
always
thing, in the
issues. Yeah.
spring when kids planned and
Tons of
then
stuff.
now what it
I
actually
And
mean-
now I have to choose between this and something I already know I
Like,
want to keep.
we have an honors geometry class, 10 students.
Well, there's no changing it now.
No,
This
no.
semester.
But we
but-
just mean moving
For
forward.
next year, we want to kind of understand this better.
How about next semester?
Can't change it
Can't
next semester
change it.
either, because a lot of these are full year courses.
All right.
So you're looking at, and again, I
Good
know we
question,
want
though.
smaller class sizes. I know we want this, but the question is going to be, it's what we talked about with the counseling, what is it, Kelly? The scheduling committee we talked about is allocation of funds, right? And
Yeah.
allocation of resources. It's like, when is enough, and how do you balance that out?
When you're dealing with 3,
Right.
Right.
Or
So
5.
then you question, could that be an elective art class? Right?
Right.
Could it be a different piece? Could it be, I don't know.
But then you do, I want to show that, you know, we do get up to these numbers where you're seeing 27 in a classroom, sorry. for
Yeah.
language.
Mm-hmm.
I know, I'm gonna get, social studies is, you know, economics, you got 28, government 28, you know,
Yeah.
so there are some sports and society, which is great, because that's one of our new courses, 28, you know? So, but we do have some upper numbers. AP courses, sometimes you do get the ones that are there. There's some larger courses that are 28. So we are seeing that. So we kind of just wanted
This
to
is the
show it to
start of the
you and
conversation,
start the
maybe.
conversation, because it's early.
Well, I think we have to be careful that even though I know those numbers can be small, and you think, well, is it better to offer something else? It's part of what makes us special. It's part of what allows kids with unique interests to find their niche, which keeps them engaged in
Mhm.
school in general. Because if, okay, I know I have my ceramics class or I have my,
Mhm.
and that's what gets me through the day versus I'm so frustrated with everything else that
Mhm.
I don't want to stick around. there are a lot of pieces.
All of
to
this is
that.
pretty subjective.
Sure,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
mean,
But if we can,
where's the cutoff? I don't know.
I don't
Right.
know, but.
but if we can do
it's-
8 kids
it's
in the
not
classroom instead of 3
Three,
kids and
right.
5 kids,
Right.
if we combine those, still give the same opportunities to all those students, that could create another opportunity down the road. And that's kind of where we want to just start having those conversations now. Again, this is not something we've done in a while. I don't think the board's done this before I
Years
got
ago, before you were here,
Right.
we pulled this all off and we would go through that and, because the question was, like, let's see how balanced we can make it and
Mhm.
why do we have only 6 kids in a lab? Well, it can't be more than 15 or 16, but it can be more than 6. So, like those conversations
But we've just thought,
for efficiency of, taxpayers.
Yeah.
yeah, I thought, it all kind of goes back to budget.
Yeah.
And it all goes back to funds. So we want to at least have the conversation and bring it up and be transparent in what we're offering.
I agree.
So that's really it. And then, I don't know, almost pushing an hour, so.
Is RJ still here?
RG, you still here?
I'm still here. I'm listening.
Just check.
All right.
Okay.
So new courses. We kind of want to give an update on where we were with those. So Karen?
Yep, and I think you probably could see it on the enrollment. AP Spanish is it's a small class. This is year 2. Creative writing and public speaking.
We had 4 kids in it this year. Trying to do it as DL though.
But
So
nobody-
DL is distance learning.
Distance
So
learning.
selling it
We're
out
trying to
and
sell
try to
it.
get a couple more kids in. And if we do that, we also get reimbursement.
Yeah.
So
So you got 4 distance learning
no,
No, we only
got
have 4 of
4
our own
in-
students.
in-house, which is
in-house.
right, which we thought we'd have a little bit more, but again, student interest kind of waned, or kids who said they wanted to do it couldn't get it in their schedule, which happens.
And to be AP.
Yeah.
You have already taken
Everything else, right?
everything else.
Yeah, so I mean, this is again rigor, right?
Right.
It's the rigor that we can offer. So part of us feels, even though we're not able to do it, the question might ever come is, if your classes get, like, say you have 29 kids in your other world language classes and you have 4 kids in your AP or 2 kids in your AP, do you not offer that AP that year and then make those other class sizes smaller? Those are some of the harder conversations that you run into eventually.
Mhm.
You're not there now, but
No.
those are conversations that schools do have.
So we unfortunately did not have any takers from the distance learning community to take the class. That would have been nice.
Oh, from someone outside of Voorheesville.
Correct.
Yes, because if they do, then we get reimbursement for the
We
teacher.
offered to do
It
that. Our
generates
teacher
revenue.
offered
We
to
would
do
be
that, yeah.
One.
And it adds more kids in the room.
Creative writing, public speaking, we're in year 2 and it's popular again. I think I jotted this down somewhere. I want to say it's like 28 and 25.
Nice,
Yep.
as an elective.
Or 12th grade English, right.
Great.
Sports and society, sports and civics, we're in year 1. I put a little quote on the slides and I'm going
Those
to
are
read.
2 separate.
Yep, those are the 2 half-year courses that we approved
Right.
last year that Mr. Lawrence is teaching. He said, since we've started school, we've been doing a unit on should sports gambling have been legalized. He said, I've never seen kids work so hard.
Sure.
So he said, we have so much to go through, because remember, it's very engaging, and they seem to be very excited about digging right
But
in.
we have
But remember,
28
they're doing all those social studies practices in this, and it doesn't replace a social studies, it's an elective. It's another place to do research, it's another place to do,
And it's an opportunity that kids didn't have, that would have been a study hall, that now are doing
Yeah.
something.
and they're filled up. Didn't
Yep.
you say it's like 28?
28, it's awesome.
And then we have distance learning opportunities that we are receiving. So we have a student in programming concepts, another student in computer applications, student in law and justice, There's an independent study phys ed. There's an agribusiness, so a student doing agricultural business. And we just received news last week that we could also offer American Sign Language, which is, and so we have, we were not on that list originally, and a different school dropped, so then it was offered to us, and we have a student who's going to be taking that.
And those are from other area schools?
That's correct.
Yeah, but since we might not be able to offer all those and we
Yeah.
have 1 or 2 kids, distance learning is great. And looking at more opportunities down the road, there is, a group is looking at a distance learning consortium right now of another group of like 6 school districts, looking at how they can help work together So, and that's block schedules. So down the road, I think more schools are gonna be looking at how can they partner to offer things on these one-off kind of things, or one or two kids to be able to help support others, because not everybody can offer everything.
This fits into the grading system and all of that.
Yep.
Just
Yeah.
Seamless.
Absolutely.
And it works great. It's not
Maybe
perfectly
not seamless.
seamless.
Yeah, no.
But it does. What was the other thing I was gonna just say about the DL too? Oh, just the fact that, we don't necessarily have a teacher who's certified to teach coding. Somebody else does,
Oh,
so we
yeah.
have somebody through that, or,
That was the whole
Or
theory
like a
behind
sign.
DL all along,
Right.
Just
that, those
perfect.
experts are out there.
yeah.
And it's, and some districts who use DL and do it well, they have a very nice revenue source.
Oh, yeah.
So there's some districts that are just powerhouses when it comes to distance learning, and their revenue is, it's funding staff members in their
I
buildings.
gotta believe the experience with hybrid kind of opened people's
I
eyes
think you're right.
to, maybe we could do this.
And
virtually.
maybe even a comfort level with some teachers,
Yeah.
right? who
Some are
had to
still,
do it.
some courses are a little bit harder than
Oh,
others.
yeah.
So foreign language, for example,
Yeah, I can imagine.
distance learning is still more
World
difficult
language.
than, sorry.
World,
Any of your world
there
languages.
is no for it.
And I think the last thing that we had on it, right, on the agenda,
Yes, the science.
sorry, I was speaking a little bit. So Karen, you want to talk about this a little bit?
Sure. So as you know, we're moving closer and closer to more of our sciences moving over. This is our first year for the new 5th grade and 8th grade science assessment with the New York
Last
State.
year was fourth grade.
And 2 years ago it was 4th grade. And then this year it'll be 5th grade. So since those kids already had it, they didn't make them
That's
take
right.
that. And it will be computer based. Everybody 100%, it will be computer based testing for that. And we have, starting last year, as you probably know, we have a BOCES coach that we've brought in. She supports our teachers K-12 with a number of things, but she has a science background, which has been very helpful. And she helped us add a program called Generation Genius to the elementary school, which has a lot of great resources. And Lisa is her name. She worked on the science maps with our elementary school and provided pre-maps for our high school teachers with, I think she called it a pre-map for the new standards and the switches that we're moving forward on. So our high school science teachers had been working on these pre-maps and we'll be continuing with that. I don't know if you recall the investigations that New York State is asking that our students have. There are 4 investigations for 5th grade, 4 investigations for 8th grade that they kind of like a practicum that they do before they sit down to take this assessment. And last year was kind of a practice year for us. 5th grade went through that. Each teacher did a different one, so that we could see what it was like. 5th grade decided that they wanted to have it all done their year since the kids are taking the test that year. But you could spread it out from 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. But in the elementary, they've decided that they're doing them all during 5th grade. At the middle school, this group's cohort that will take this test, this 8th grade cohort, last year, our 7th grade science teacher did one of the investigations, and our 6th grade science teacher pushed into that 7th grade class to do a different investigation. So they already have 2 out of the way. And Jill, our 8th grade teacher, will be doing one this fall. I wrote it down.
What's an investigation?
It's like it's a science lab that everybody will do the same type of science lab all across the state. They'll have those experiences together. So even though there won't be questions on that test that are directly referenced by the investigations, they will all have had those experiences. So I think it might inform it. They're doing 2, one in the fall, Cool It, it's called, and All Mixed Up will come on later this year.
Wow, we said
Cool It. So I think we're in good shape with moving forward with that. This summer we ordered some additional materials, Smithsonian materials for which are lab practice kits for elementary teachers, and those investigation supplies. We have our BOCES person help us.
Am I
sort
wrong
through
in saying
that.
too, I heard some of the teachers say that some of the Wonders units align with the new science curriculum too?
And social studies, yeah. Yep. Which will be nice because anything you can kill two birds with one stone. It obviously Wonders isn't going to do anything in terms of doing a science lab,
No.
but some of that understanding, you know, if you're in first grade and you're learning about plants, that type of a thing.
I think that when
Reading
that might
nonfiction.
be more applicable in the primary grades. I mean, I know in fourth grade, they have a social studies textbook.
Yep.
That day. So, but
Yeah.
in those things meld together a little bit.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
Okay. So we got.
Okay, so sure, no questions. Our next meeting is Tuesday, November 14th.
November 14th.
Not really that far away.
Really isn't.
All right,
All right.
and otherwise, meeting adjourned.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care, RG.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Nice night.